Are you ready to dive into a mind-bending paradox that will not only make you think, but might also lull you to sleep? Then get ready for a 1-hour journey into thought that challenges the very nature of life. If you enjoy the video, do like it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more such experiences. So let's begin. The ship of Theseus. Imagine an ancient ship, the ship of Theseus. It's been docked at the harbor for centuries. Over time, its wooden planks begin to rot. Every time a plank goes bad, it's replaced with a new one. Slowly, every single part of the ship is replaced, one by one. Now here's the question. Is it still the same ship of Theseus? You might think, yes, because it's in the same place, with the same structure. But wait, what if someone collected all the original planks that were removed and rebuilt them into a ship with the same design, the same order? Now there are two ships. One that was gradually replaced, and another rebuilt entirely from the original parts. So if you were asked, which one is the real ship of Theseus? This question softly knocks on the door of our own identity. If every few years, the cells in our body change, if our memories, our ways of thinking, and our habits all change, then are we still the same person? Or is our soul, our identity, just an illusion, held together by a system? The ship of Theseus doesn't demand an answer. Instead, it places us into a quiet conflict where every answer feels incomplete. And then you realize this question doesn't just apply to things. It applies to relationships too. Sometimes a relationship changes slowly. Every event, every argument, every compromise changes a piece of it. But still, we believe it's the same relationship, and sometimes, even if everything old is put back together, it just doesn't feel the same. Why? Because maybe the real question is not about identity, but about attachment. The ship of Theseus isn't just a philosophical riddle, it's a mirror. It shows us how sweet and yet how fragile the illusion of permanence is. Are you the same person you were as a child? Or are you just a story now, built from old planks of memory and experience? And if you've changed, could that change be the real you? Think deeper. Really think a little deeper. When someone says, "I write my own destiny," can they also decide what they want? Can a person change themselves so much that they no longer recognize who they used to be? If yes, then who are they? The old self or the new one? This is where we stand, at the edge of a paradox, where logic begins to collapse into a maze. And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? We believe logic can solve everything, but the omnipotence paradox reminds us, even logic has an edge, a place where words vanish, and only silence remains. Listen closely. This paradox doesn't just ask questions, it drops them like heavy stones into still water. It makes us wonder, can we limit our own power? Human history is filled with attempts to gain complete control, and each time we got close, we came face to face with our own limits. Now, close your eyes. Imagine this. Maybe, to keep every power in balance, a weakness is necessary. And if someone truly is all-powerful, then maybe their real strength is the ability to limit themselves. The grandfather paradox. Imagine this. You have the power to travel through time. You sit inside a time machine and head into the past. So far back, you reach a time before your grandfather was even married. You see him, an ordinary man, working, living, building a family. But now, a terrifying thought creeps into your mind. What if you kill your grandfather before your father is born? I know, it sounds cruel, but the question isn't about violence. It's about logic. If you kill your grandfather, then your father is never born. If your father isn't born, then neither are you. And if you were never born, then who went back to kill your grandfather? And if no one did, then he lived. And if he lived, your father is born, and so are you. And again, you go back in time and kill him. And this cycle keeps spinning. Forever. That's the grandfather paradox. A time-based contradiction that breaks the line between cause and effect. We think of time as a straight line, past, present, future. But this paradox bends that line into a loop, where causes and effects collapse onto each other. Now think, is time really linear? Or are we living in a loop, where every decision, every change, is connected to some pulse in another timeline? In quantum physics, some scientists believe that every decision, every possible outcome, creates its own universe. So, if you did kill your grandfather, maybe it happened in another timeline, not the one where you were born. But then, does every choice pull us into a new reality? If so, which one is real? Is our identity tied to where we make our decisions? The grandfather paradox isn't just about time travel. It forces us to question our very existence. Can we truly change the past? Or is it the past that changes us? And if the past can't be changed, is the future also fixed? Already written? You get lost in this maze. And slowly, your thoughts deepen. Your mind opens. Because these paradoxes don't make you sleep. They open the door to awakening. The bootstrap paradox. Picture this. One day you travel back in time, with your favorite book in hand. You go to the past and hand the book to a publisher. He gives it to a struggling writer. And that writer becomes famous as the author of that book. Time passes. And eventually, that same book reaches you. But wait, who actually wrote the book? Was it you? Was it the writer? Or no one? That's the bootstrap paradox. A time loop where something exists, without any real beginning. The name comes from that old saying, pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps, which is basically impossible. And this paradox, just like that. Impossible, yet strangely real. Here's another example. A scientist from the future brings back a machine's blueprint to the past. He builds the machine in the past. Generations study it. Eventually, one of those generations produces the same scientist, who again takes the design back in time. So, who designed the machine first? No one, everyone. That machine was never truly created. It just kept looping through time, endlessly. The bootstrap paradox breaks the wall between cause and effect. We believe everything has a reason. But here, the cause and the effect create each other, with no original start. You can apply this to music, art, even ideas. Imagine you memorize a poem. One day you recite it, thinking it's yours. Through some time loop, the poem reaches the original poet, who never actually wrote it. So, is it still his poem? Or no one's? This isn't just logic, it's a constantly shifting, unraveling story. The Sorite's paradox. Imagine a pile of sand in front of you. You remove one grain, still a pile, right? Then another, still a pile, and again, until suddenly, wait, when did it stop being a pile? That's the Sorite's paradox, also known as the heap paradox. Sorites comes from Greek and means heap. It seems simple, but it challenges our reasoning, language, and decision-making. Now imagine applying this to humans. If someone has one gray hair, we don't call them old. 2 gray hairs? Still not old. But at what exact point do they become old? Or imagine a person delays their work by just 10 seconds a day. Not lazy, right? But what if the delay increases by 10 seconds every day? Eventually, they're hours late. When did they become lazy? What was the deciding moment? This paradox forces us to ask, Where's the line where quantity turns into quality? When do small changes become transformation? We often miss it. And it's not just logic, it's the very depth of human experience. A relationship changes gradually. A little distance, a small argument, silence. When did it break? Which moment changed it all? We don't even realize it, because change always comes silently. That's what the Sorite's paradox teaches us. Don't underestimate small changes. Every heap is made of grains, and every downfall of tiny steps. This paradox urges us to reflect. How many such illusions lie hidden in our thoughts and language? They look simple, but are deeply complex. And when you lie in silence, lost in these thoughts, it feels like your mind is sinking, slowly, into the very heap it tries to unravel. 7. The lottery paradox. Imagine a massive lottery. Millions have bought tickets. The rule, only one winner. Now suppose you start thinking about each ticket holder one by one. This person won't win, nor this one. Soon you conclude none of them will win. But wait, that contradicts the rule. There has to be a winner. This is the lottery paradox. It shows how rational individual beliefs, when combined, can lead to an irrational collective conclusion. It feels logical to believe each person won't win. But if you believe that about everyone, it becomes absurd. It's not just about lotteries, it's about our thinking. When we reach separate conclusions about things in isolation, do we step back and see the whole picture? If we think everyone will fail, what then is the meaning of success? This paradox makes us question, is individual knowledge enough? Or must it be tested against collective logic too? And when you lie in the silence of the night, drifting into thought, it feels like every hopeful ticket slowly dissolves into sleep. 8. The two envelopes paradox. You see two envelopes. You're told one has double the money of the other. You pick one without looking inside. Should you switch? Suppose you open your envelope and see your $1,000. Now you think, the other could be our 500 or our 2,000. You calculate 0.5 x or 500, or 250, 0.5 x or 2,000, 1,000, 750 plus 1,000 equal 1,250. Wow, 1,250 average. That's more than her 1,000. So you decide to switch. But wait, if the new envelope also has her 1,000, you'll go through the same logic again. So, you keep switching forever? This paradox reveals how even logical thinking can trap us in indecision. So where's the flaw? It lies in the assumption. When you see 1,000, you assume it could be either the smaller or the larger amount. But you ignore the limits. The problem isn't that your logic is wrong, but that your information is incomplete. And that's exactly what happens in life, right? Sometimes a little information makes us think we know a lot, and we keep changing decisions, again and again. The two envelopes paradox tells us, not every change is wise. Sometimes staying is the smartest choice. And as you get closer to sleep, you wonder, is what I have already the best? Or, is there another envelope waiting for me out there? 9. The crocodile paradox. Imagine, a crocodile has taken your child. You stand at the riverbank, your heartbeat racing, breath caught. The cold-blooded creature stares at you, and then it speaks. I'll return your child only if you guess exactly what I'm going to do next. Time freezes. It's not just a matter of life and death, it's a tangled knot of logic, language, and prediction. You have two choices. Say, you will return my child. If he does return, your guess was right and he kept his word. But if he doesn't, your guess was wrong, and he's not obliged to return the child. Now say, you won't return my child. If he doesn't, your guess is right, so he must return the child. But if he does, your guess was wrong, so he's not obliged. No matter what, you're trapped. The crocodile's promise devours itself. It's a sentence that loops into itself, where logic collapses, like saying, this sentence is false. If it's false, then it's true. If it's true, then it's false. Mind blown? This isn't just wordplay, it's a philosophical trap. When logic, language, and trust collide, everything unravels. Can a promise that can't logically be fulfilled still be called a promise? Law, politics, society. Sometimes systems are designed where every outcome leads to contradiction, where justice and injustice become a matter of perspective. That's the deepest fear of the crocodile paradox. That moment when you're at someone's mercy, but their condition is a trap of logic. And when you lie in the dark, trying to sleep, a chilling thought crosses your mind. What if some crocodile-like power is playing with us? Can our logic, our prediction, ever truly save us? 10. The barber paradox. Picture a small village with just one barber and a strange rule. The barber only shaves men who don't shave themselves. If a man shaves himself, the barber can't shave him. If he doesn't shave himself, the barber must shave him. Now the big question, what does the barber do about his own beard? If he shaves himself, then he must not shave himself. If he doesn't shave himself, then he must shave himself. Wait, what? This is a paradox where the rule breaks itself. This shows how self-reference can destroy logic. Just like saying, I always lie. If it's true, then it's a lie. If it's a lie, then it's true. Round and round you go. It points towards a logical inconsistency. Now just think, how many systems, laws, and promises exist in our lives that contradict their very own definitions? In human society, we often encounter complexities where the difference between right and wrong isn't decided by logic, but by perspective. This paradox teaches us that the boundaries between language, rules, and logic aren't always clear, and when you're just about to fall asleep at night, your tangled thoughts start to echo a question. If you can't do what you can do, then who are you? The hypergame paradox. Imagine a game called hypergame. Now you might ask, what kind of game is this? So let's unwrap it slowly. Hypergame is a game where you choose any finite game, like chess, hide and seek, carom, any game that ends eventually. All of them are part of the hypergame. So what exactly is hypergame? It's a game where you play another finite game. Simple enough, right? Nothing unusual so far. But wait, here's the twist. We claim that hypergame itself is a finite game because you just pick another finite game to play. Now here comes the question. Is hypergame itself a finite game? If yes, then technically we can choose hypergame as a game inside hypergame because it's finite too, right? That means we can play hypergame inside hypergame, and inside that, again hypergame. This could go on forever. Wait, think about it. Is this still finite? A hypergame inside a hypergame inside a hypergame, repeating endlessly. A game that loops itself infinitely. So is it still finite? Or infinite? And that's where the paradox begins. At first it sounds simple. Choose a game from a list and play. But the moment you allow hypergame to be chosen within itself, it transforms into an endless recursive loop, a game that never ends. So, is hypergame truly a finite game? If not, then it violates its own rule, that you can only choose finite games. But if it is finite, then you can choose it again, and again, and again. The moment you select hypergame as hypergame, the paradox explodes. It's like saying, I'm making a list of all the things that don't include themselves in any list. The hypergame paradox teaches us something profound. Sometimes the rules of a system can destabilize the system itself when applied to itself. It points to that fragile line between language, rules, and definitions where boundaries blur. Think about it. In our society, in our thoughts, even inside our dreams. How many hypergames are hidden? Every time we feel like we've understood it, a new layer unfolds, another loop, a deeper mystery. And when you're lying in silence, eyes closed at night, the mind whispers, can a game that can play itself ever truly end? The paradox of the unexpected winner. Imagine a big competition. Participants from across the country gather, each confident they'll win. But of course, only one winner will emerge. Now meet one participant. Let's call him Ravi. Ravi believes he has almost zero chance of winning. "It'll be a miracle if I'm not dead last," he tells his friend. The contest proceeds. Everyone performs. Then the results are announced. Ravi is the winner. Everyone's stunned, even Ravi himself. But the real paradox starts here. Did Ravi know he'd win? No. He didn't expect it. So was his victory unexpected? Yes. But now think. If someone truly wins unexpectedly, doesn't that make them expected? Because the moment we consider someone an unexpected winner, their win becomes a thought. And once you think it, it becomes expected. Isn't that crazy? This ties into a classic logical twist, the unexpected hanging paradox. In it, a judge tells a prisoner, "You will be hanged next week, but the day will be a surprise." The prisoner starts thinking, if I'm not hanged by Friday, then Friday won't be a surprise. So Friday's ruled out. Then he thinks, if Friday's out, Thursday becomes predictable, and so it can't be Thursday either. This reasoning continues, and he convinces himself he won't be hanged at all. But suddenly, he is hanged in the middle of the week, and is completely shocked. That's the paradox of unexpectedness. Coming back to Ravi, if he thought he wouldn't win and then did, he's an unexpected winner. But the big question is an unexpected winner a rational concept? Or is it just a limit of our own expectations? This paradox challenges our minds. Can we ever truly experience something unexpected? Or does the brain always try to create some expectation, and once something happens, immediately make sense of it? This paradox reveals something deep, that we humans are entangled in a web of possibilities, expectations, and experiences. We think we know who will win, who won't, and what the future holds. But life always surprises us with a new, unexpected winner. And perhaps the most profound truth is this: what we don't understand might not just be an illusion. It could be the truth itself. He doubles the room numbers. The one in room 1 is sent to room 2, the one in room 2 to room 4, and the one in room 3 to room 6. Because of this, all odd-numbered rooms like 3, 5, 7 become empty. That means an infinite number of new guests can now be placed in them. An infinity was added to an infinity. And still, there was space left. Isn't that mind-blowing? Here lies the paradox. The behavior of infinity goes beyond our normal understanding. We think that if something is completely full, there's no more space. But with infinity, there's no final limit. We assume that 100% means the end, but even 100% can be stretched within infinity. The Grand Hotel paradox isn't just a mathematical magic trick. It challenges the very limits of our thinking. Just imagine, what if our thoughts, our imagination, our time were infinite? Could we then add more and more possibilities? This paradox leaves us with a deep philosophical question. Can our limited minds ever fully grasp the true meaning of infinity? Or are we always like that hotel, where every room is full and yet new doors keep opening? The sword and shield paradox. Once upon a time, in an ancient Chinese marketplace, a merchant stood holding two items, a spear and a shield. He was shouting loudly, trying to sell them to everyone. First, he pointed to the spear and claimed, "This is the sharpest spear in the world. It can pierce through any shield. Nothing can stop it." People were amazed. Such a powerful spear. Then, he raised the shield and said, "This is the strongest shield ever made. No spear can pierce it. It's completely unbreakable." Wait, what? That's where the paradox begins. Someone in the crowd asked, "What would happen if your spear is used against your own shield?" The merchant fell silent, because if the spear can pierce anything, and the shield can be pierced by nothing, then who wins? That's the sword and shield paradox. In Chinese, it's called Zijiang Maodun, which literally means a contradiction between one's own spear and shield. In fact, this very phrase became the word for paradox in the Chinese language. Let's go deeper. This paradox hides a logical conflict. Two statements. 1. My spear can pierce anything. 2. My shield can't be pierced by anything. Both can't be true at the same time. Why? Because if the first is true, the spear should pierce the shield. But if the second is true, the shield should stop the spear. That means one of them has to be false. But the merchant is presenting both as absolute truths. That's where the contradiction arises. This paradox teaches us how clever language can be, and how conflicting claims cannot both be true. Now think, how many times do such paradoxes show up in our daily lives? I never lie. Is that a truthful statement itself? This rule applies to everyone, except you. Does that really qualify as a rule? This paradox tells us something even deeper. When two perfect ideas clash, the truth often hides inside that clash. And sometimes, a new understanding is born from that collision. The sword and shield paradox is not just a wordplay. It shows how perfection coming from both sides can begin to destroy itself. When a leader says, "My policy will fix everything," it's flawless. Ask yourself, is that even possible? Or is he just another merchant trying to sell you both a spear and a shield? The Pinocchio paradox. You've probably heard the story of Pinocchio, the wooden puppet who could walk, talk, and every time he lied, his nose would grow longer. A magical curse, or maybe a gift, that revealed every lie. But now imagine this. What if one day, Pinocchio says, "My nose is about to grow"? Wait. Pause. That's where the real game begins. Look at this statement carefully. If it's true, then his nose should grow. But his nose only grows if he lies. So if the statement is true, then he's not lying, which means his nose shouldn't grow. But if his nose doesn't grow, that would mean he was lying. So now the nose should grow. But if it does, then his statement becomes true again, which means the nose should grow and also not grow at the same time. This is the Pinocchio paradox. It's a self-referential paradox, a statement that refers to itself and ends up contradicting itself. Just like the classic example, this statement is false. If it's false, then it must be true. But if it's true, then it's false. Pinocchio's paradox adds a twist, because now there's a physical reaction involved, the nose growing. That makes it even more fascinating. Think about it. If Pinocchio's nose grows only when he lies, then his sentence becomes a logical trap. In the world of philosophy and logic, this is called the liar paradox with consequences, and it first became popular in 2001 when an 11-year-old girl raised this question and shocked the world of thinkers. The Pinocchio paradox. When Veronique Elder Smith shared this with her father, a professor of logic, it stirred up a whirlwind of thought. Imagine a character like Pinocchio, and now imagine if his lies didn't just twist morality, but tore through the very fabric of logic itself. There's something deeply unsettling hidden within this paradox. Is it really possible that a statement could be so tangled that truth and falsehood both exist at the same time? Think about it. Haven't you ever said things like, "I don't want to say anything," or "I'm done thinking"? These are self-referential statements too. Sometimes our own thoughts get so deep, they start cutting through themselves. The Pinocchio paradox isn't just a quirky tale from a children's book. It's a mirror reflecting the limits of human logic and language. The card paradox. Now picture this. You're holding a card, just a plain card, like a page from a notebook. On one side it says, the statement on the other side is true. But when you flip it over, it says, the statement on the other side is false. Wait. What? Let that sink in. If the first side is true, then the second must also be true. But the second side says the first is false. And if the first is false, then the second must be true, which means the first is true again. You're stuck, trapped, in an endless loop. This is the card paradox, a brilliantly simple, yet mind-twisting, example of self-reference. It bends logic the way a snake eats its own tail. If both sides are taken together, truth and lies coexist, and arriving at a solid conclusion becomes impossible. Philosophers call this a semantic paradox, where language gets so complex it starts destroying its own meaning. Look around. Isn't our society full of such card paradoxes? I'm not lying. I never claim to always be right, but I'm not wrong either. These sentences try to hold truth and lies in the same breath. The card paradox shows us, just because something sounds straightforward doesn't mean it is logical. Sometimes words spin such a web that even logic gets caught in it. The twin paradox. Now imagine two twins, Rahul and Karan. Rahul boards a spacecraft, flying at nearly the speed of light on a mission to distant stars. Karan stays on Earth. Years pass. Rahul returns, and shockingly, Karan is now an old man, while Rahul, still young. How? They were born at the same time. What happened? This is the twin paradox, rooted in Einstein's theory of special relativity. According to this, time slows down for objects moving at speeds close to light. It's called time dilation. For Karan, time passed normally. But for Rahul, moving at extreme speed, time almost froze. But here's where it gets truly bizarre. Einstein's theory also says motion is relative. So couldn't it be Karan who was moving while Rahul stayed still? Then why did time slow down for only Rahul? That's the real paradox. The twist? Rahul turned back. He accelerated, changed direction. Karan didn't. That change made all the difference. So, this paradox isn't a contradiction. It's actually a beautiful confirmation of Einstein's theory. But ask yourself, if time flows differently for different speeds, what is age really? A biological process? Or a physical state? Is time the same for everyone? Or does each of us live in our own timeline? The twin paradox whispers a haunting question. Is the life we think is shared even truly the same? The paradox of the unexpected. Hanging now. Imagine, a judge tells a prisoner, "You will be hanged next week, but the day will be unexpected. You won't know until the moment it happens." The prisoner starts thinking, and he thinks hard. Well, if it were Friday, I'd figure it out by Thursday night. So Friday's out. Then Thursday's the only day left, but I'd realize that on Wednesday. So Thursday's out too. And slowly, using logic, he eliminates every single day of the week. He smiles, convinced, they can't hang me. But then, Wednesday arrives, and suddenly, he's hanged, shocked, speechless. The judge's words came true. It was unexpected. That's the paradox of the unexpected hanging. When we try to logically predict uncertainty, we often destroy it. The prisoner's biggest mistake? He believed he'd know the unknowable. The moment he thought he figured it out, he was already wrong. This isn't just a legal dilemma. It strikes at the very heart of human logic and prediction. Even today, philosophers, mathematicians, and thinkers wrestle with it. Can we ever truly know something uncertain? Or is the very act of trying to know the reason we can't? This paradox screams, sometimes trying to know makes knowing impossible. The paradox of the ruler. Now imagine you have a ruler, perfectly straight and flat. You use it to measure a strange object. But wait, can you really be sure of the object's length? Now flip it. Can you accurately measure the ruler itself? With what? Another ruler. Can you be sure that that one's accurate? That's the heart of the ruler paradox. Whenever you measure something, you need an outside reference. But when the measuring tool itself is in question, how can you trust the result? This paradox goes even deeper in physics. In Einstein's theory, rulers change length depending on how fast they move. So, what even is a standard measure? How can we be sure of anything when even our tools for knowing are uncertain? Would you like me to continue rewriting the remaining paradoxes in the same style?